Here's a quick overview of linking how management would like to think, best practices, and the information systems that we need to provide them that enable that behavior. So management wants to fly along looking outside the window of the jet airplane, 30,000 feet, seeing a broad expanse of the horizon and seeing where there are sort of puffs of smoke coming up. And they can use those puffs of smoke to represent problems in the organization. And what we need to do is provide them with a tool to allow them to prioritize which of those puffs of smoke they should be focusing in on. And of course, to do that, we need to identify what is the strategy. The strategy tells us what things are a higher priority. Management then wants to dip down from 30,000 feet to 20,000 feet and begin understanding what's causing that performance. To do that, we need to provide them some operational tools. Once they have that understanding, they then want to go from 20,000 feet down to 10,000 feet. We then have to provide them with diagnostic tools so that they can become more directional in their behavior. And then finally, at ground level, we need to provide them an analytic tool so that they can become more prescriptive. So these are sort of the cycles management wants to go through. What are their best practice tools? Well, at the top of the house, we should be using a balanced scorecard to identify our strategic objectives, our priorities, and overall how we're performing. Based on this, management will be able to identify which ones they should drill into to understand in more detail. And from that, be able to drill into each of those to begin to understand what's causing the performance that they're seeing. So this is called an impact diagram and should be sort of that 20,000 foot view of what information they need to see to begin making more operational decisions. Now, my argument is that's as far as senior management should go. The next level down, we're going to move into dashboards. Dashboards are meant for the process experts inside the organization that understand that process in detail and begin to need diagnostic tools, no different than the mechanic at your garage uses different tools to diagnose what's going on than the dashboard that you as a driver get to see. Then the final level is some level of business intelligence information that allows us to drill in. Now, the important thing is if we have an objective at the top of the house, it should cascade all the way down. Now, I might need other views like brand, regional views at the scorecard level. I like the impact diagram, but there's other ways to represent that cross-process transactional information. Dashboards, there's a black science to dashboard, which is all about concentrated information in a user digestible format. And then finally, of course, the analytic stuff with maps and scatter diagrams and so forth. And some capability of making this portable all make up sort of the management structure that's out there. So if we go back and if you take a look at your organization, I suspect you'll see patches of this sort of information in your organization already. This is a game of joining these different entities together as opposed to reinventing the wheel. So again, the strategy map and scorecard is sort of that strategic tool. Impact diagrams are the operational tool. Dashboards begin being that diagnostic and directional tool. And then the BI stuff is the analytic prescriptive sort of thing. So that's how management wants to operate. And chances are, as I said, you have bits and pieces of this in your organization already. There's one other characteristic I'll share with you since we're here, and that is if we have a strategic objective at the top, we need to drill all the way down. So for example, with McDonald's, we all know that it's fast food, and so that strategic imperative needs to drill down to, that 3-minute timer we see at the store, the BI layer. So if we try to attach some names to it, on the strategy map we have what we call strategic objectives, and those are going to cascade down to operational objectives, from there to tactics, and eventually tasks. Now these are just names, but you get the idea. The information is cascading down. So if we had an objective like market penetration, there'll be a number of operational objectives, one of which might be price leadership. Price leadership is going to have a number of tactics, one of which might be just 10% undercut one of the competitors. And there's going to be a bunch of tasks to help that happen, one of which might be daily monitoring of what that competitor is priced at. So there's examples of how we move down this hierarchy in a linear fashion. The important thing to note, though, is this, the timeline. For a typical organization, the strategy is trying to give a view out from 1 to 5 years. The impact diagram takes that down and it's going to show out 1 to 5 quarters. And the dashboard is going to take that out and show 1 to 5 weeks. And then the BI stuff is 1 to 5 days or hours. The net is that those timelines vary based on the drumbeat of your business, but there's this shorter and shorter time period as we drill into more and more specific information, but we have to understand how they relate to each other, and it's strategy that is that driving force. So arbitrarily at the top of the house, somewhere these things are scorecards. They turn into dashboards, and down the bottom here is just data or information. And our job is to package that in a useful way for different levels of management. If you want to learn more, just join us at thebalancescorecard.net. There are many other vignettes that describe attributes of scorecards and dashboards.